my initial case at the beginning, right, opening statement was because Israel's been practicing apartheid since at least 1967, because there's been massive ethnic cleansing. I didn't use the G word because I didn't want us to spend all night parsing the legal definition of genocide, right? So I said at the very least ethnic cleansing, right? There's been at the very least massive ethnic cleansing in the last 9 months. So because of these things, it's wrong for the United States to support it, right? As Americans, we should be outraged that our government is supporting these things. That was my initial case. Destiny, though, I don't know if you guys know this. He has telepathic powers.
I've heard rumors.
And he looked into my head, and it didn't take him long to figure out that when I said that my conclusion was that the U.S. shouldn't be supporting this, what I really meant was something very different. So I think so we have 3 clips here. First one's regime change 1.
But the pro-Palestinian side generally just doesn't want to engage in any history, because usually the history either makes them look bad or undermines whatever current argument they're making. But even the modern understanding of what's happening in these regions is incredibly poor. The idea that we think that it is essential that all these leftists that constantly oppose regime change, we can't regime change Gaddafi, that's horrible. We can't regime change Saddam Hussein, that's horrible. We shouldn't be intervening in Syria, that's horrible. These places where you've got tortures of political opponents, where you've got the expulsion of enemy parties, the murders of journalists, where you've got the deaths of hundreds of thousands of other Arabs, none of these places are right for regime change because that would be unethical. But Israel, that's a place where, oh my God, like the apartheid, the genocide. If you ask the average person how many people have died in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, they'd probably be shocked to learn that it's probably about half, of the Israeli-Arab conflict. If you add up every single war, every single massacre, every single conflict that happened between a Jewish person and an Arab person for the past 150 years, I think you're at about 1/2 to 1/3 of the total deaths of 6 years of the Syrian civil war. That doesn't include the Iraq-Iran war. That doesn't include everything that's happened in Iraq. It doesn't include the 60,000 some children that starved to death in Yemen, excluding all the other deaths. It doesn't include anything that's happened in Northern Africa. It doesn't include any of those other places. It's the amount of outrage that's given to this particular region, combined with the misunderstanding of history, combined with the misunderstanding of modern day facts, combined with the misunderstanding of international law, combined with the misunderstanding of basically every single part of this conflict, is so incredibly infuriating to me.
Yeah, it's a great job, reaching into your mind and understanding the depths of your soul.
Yeah. I mean, I have, I keep trying to get Jacobin to let me publish my Here's Why We Should Invade Israel article, and they keep not doing it. But, Stephen knows. He can tell. So we have follow-up number 2 out of 3 here.
Ben, the floor is yours.
Sure. So I just want to note that that started with a very strange attempt to find an inconsistency between opposing the United States going to war to impose regime change in various bad states with some of the same anti-war people opposing the United States actively helping a apartheid state carry out widespread ethnic cleansing. And you're right that if people who oppose the war in Gaza and the U.S. role in it, we're in favor, we're out there advocating that the United States invade Israel to impose regime change, then you're right, that would be very inconsistent. But of course, nobody has done that. Right? They're like that combination of positions, as far as I know, I'm sure you can always find somebody, but as far as I know, that combination of positions doesn't exist. So that seems like a very strange attempt to find inconsistency. But beyond that, I really just want to end by recentering us on the original topic, what the challenge was that was presented at the beginning of the debate, and whether that challenge was met. Right? So we're talking about, should our country keep providing military and financial assistance and diplomatic cover to Israel no matter what? Or is it actually quite bad to provide military and financial assistance and diplomatic cover to an apartheid state? And is it in particular very bad to do that at a time when that state is carrying out atrocities against its non-citizen population with no precedent since the original Nakba? That's the big picture question. And so you should ask yourself, as immediately, right when we started, Stephen redirected it to these completely off-topic questions and lingered in the details of those until we were done. But you should ask yourself, did you hear anything in all of that that answered any of those challenges? Do you think Stephen gave us a convincing argument to absolve Israel on the charge of apartheid? We were arguing about that for a minute. That's half of the sort of core original question. And then we were off again. And do you think that he's given us a convincing argument to absolve Israel on the charge of ethnic cleansing of its non-citizen subjects in Gaza over the course of the last 9 months? And if you think the answer is no, that nothing that he's said, whatever else you think he's right about, that nothing that he's said has added up to a convincing argument to absolve Israel on either of those points, do you then agree that it's a bad thing, a shameful thing, for the United States to support an apartheid state that's engaged in large-scale atrocities against its internal non-citizen population? And that's the whole deal.
You have been watching free public content from Give Them an Argument. To access every single episode of the show, the main show on Monday nights, all of the streams, all of the debate breakdowns, all of the patron-exclusive postgames on Monday nights, all of the patron-exclusive bonus episodes every week, and much, much more, go to patreon.com/Ben Burgis. I cannot resist ending this with, don't be foolish.